In 2016, Blizzard released Overwatch 1, and it took the world by storm, and it became one of the most played FPS games in my library. I have like 1,100 hours in Overwatch 1 from 2016 to 2019, and then I went and played Call of Duty for a few years, and then I said, hey, I'm gonna come back, play Overwatch 2 when the PvE drops. Whew. That aged like fine milk. And I know that is a sore subject for a lot of Overwatch players. Hey, it's a sore subject for me. I wish PvE would finally come out, but it looks like we're not ever gonna get it. And I decided recently, since I stopped playing Call of Duty, to play some Overwatch again. I've been getting used to Overwatch 2, the 5v5 stuff, how you have to play supports now, how you have to play tanks now. Back in the day, I was a support player. My main was Mercy, but I played all the supports at the time, all the way up into 2019, right? Even into the new supports, Anna, Brig, those guys. So I learned to play those characters because that was the type of character I was a support player. And I never really played a lot of comp, but when I did play comp, I think I got to like mid-diamond, but that was like season 7. I don't know what a mid-diamond is now in Overwatch 2. It's probably a bronze. I don't know. You can judge by the gameplay in the background. You can call me a scrub, whatever it is. That's completely fine. I'm an Overwatch 1 player trying to learn Overwatch 2, even though what you'll be seeing in the background is from Classic. So the rest of the video is going to be my pros and cons for Classic Overwatch after playing for many hours on the first day. And I'm here for the conversation. Let me know what you all think down below, what your pros and cons are, what you want to see moving forward in Overwatch from Blizzard that maybe came from Overwatch Classic and they can maybe implement into Overwatch 2. Look, I'm not going to remember everything, and these are all just my opinions on the whole thing. And I'm having a good time. People I'm talking to in the chats have been having a good time, and let me know what you all think. So I'm going to be giving some pros and cons as to Classic Overwatch, and maybe was Blizzard right in making some of the changes. So let's get into it. The pros. This is super nostalgic. I know everything that I am looking at right now is through rose-colored glasses, and there are issues, don't get me wrong, because some of these characters are just not good, Diva. But I'm having such a good time, and I'm really loving the chaos that's going on right now with having unlimited amounts of the same character on each team, you know, up to 6 obviously, but like having 6 Roadhogs on Ilios Well. Like if you don't have 6 Roadhogs, what are you doing? Or at least a bunch of Lucios to try and boop people into the holes, right? That's so much fun. The chaos is back. I like the fact that you can actually kill the tanks now. I think that the tanks being able to die a lot quicker for me is a lot more fun, and it means that you actually need to learn to play the tank, but they could be a bit beefier for survivability, especially when Bastion and Hanzo can absolutely melt the tanks. So I think giving them a little more health is probably the good thing. I will say that I don't really care for tanks in Overwatch 2. I don't like 5v5, so I basically play quick play, and most of the time it just feels like you have 2 tanks that are trying to tank diff each other and out tank each other, so they're just bumping heads, and then the rest of the team is like 4v4 team deathmatch hoping to get a pick, and so the tanks just might as well not even be there at all. A lot of the time it just feels like they are super powerful, Orisa being one of them, being a massively powerful tank and incredibly difficult to kill. I get that that's the point in having one tank, but I do kind of miss having 2 tank synergy and being able to play off of one other tank, because if I'm by myself playing tank and I suck at playing tank that day, like all days, then my team is gonna suffer. My team is dead. There's no point in even me playing tank if I'm having a bad tank day, because there's no way we're gonna win that game. If I'm alone and playing tank, I now have to learn to play every single tank, because you don't have off tanks anymore. Every tank has to be a main tank of some variety, and I don't have another character or another player to sort of pick up the slack where I might be lacking, so that's an issue. And so it makes playing tank, in my opinion, not a very enjoyable experience. At least in the times that I've played it, it has not been very enjoyable. Maybe that's where they could have some sort of middle ground there, and they are doing a 6v6 mode sometime, was it next season maybe, or hopefully soon. Maybe we'll get something better there, but we'll see. We'll see how they do it. I also think that having limited character selections, like having the original 21 characters here, is good because the characters all feel unique. in their own right. And it seemed to me that as Overwatch went on, especially into Overwatch 2, you had quite a few characters that just felt like they were parts and pieces of other characters wrapped up into a new character. Like Sojourn to me just feels like a much more mobile Soldier 76 in many regards, even though she does have some unique abilities. And also like right now, like Juno feels to me like a mixture of Anna and maybe parts of Lucio, because you're getting speed boosts, you're healing people by shooting them and stuff like that. Even though both have different kits overall, it does seem like that they're taking bits and pieces from other heroes and just kind of stuffing them into a new hero. And here, you don't really have a lot of that because everybody has their own setup. The maps are nice, the old maps. However, the game mode is not. 2 CP, 2 control point is a terrible game mode. However, I have always liked the looks and the aesthetics of Anubis, Hanamura, and Volskaya. I think it's called Volskaya. I like the maps as maps, but I hate the game mode. 2 CP is an absolute nightmare to play. It sucks. It's awful. 6v6 is much more fun than 5v5. There's a lot more chaos, sure, certainly, but it also means that if you are going to do, let's say 2-2-2 again, the tanks have the ability to synergize with other tanks, and I like that a lot. It just, 6v6 to me feels right. Now, I wouldn't be opposed to trying 7v7 a la what Flats talks about. I think 7v7 could be fun, but 6v6 right now feels right. We'll see. Ultimate charge speed is a lot faster in classic Overwatch than it is in Overwatch 2. In Overwatch 2, it definitely feels like some of the characters take way too long to get an ultimate. I think Soldier 76 is one of those characters because whenever I play him and I get kills, I'm shooting people, I'm doing damage, I'm getting kills, and then it's like 45 minutes later, I finally get an ultimate, and it feels like his ultimate kind of sucks. It feels to me like I do more damage just by shooting people, and I get more kills just by shooting and doing stuff than I do with his ultimate. I don't think Soldier is very fun to play anymore, in my opinion. But in classic Overwatch, man, there was a game where I was playing as Hanzo, and I was on it. I was one-tapping people with scatter. I was getting kills. I probably had like 8 or 9 freaking dragons in that game. And look, I'm monkey brain when it comes to FPS games. If I have a big old freaking ability that I can use, I want to use it as many times as I can. I understand that a lot of the fights back in Overwatch 1 came down to who can get their ult first and who can press it the fastest. But from a fun standpoint, I like hitting Q. I like hitting Q a lot, and I like shooting dragons, and I like blowing things up, and I like hitting my ultimate ability as often as possible. There is something so satisfying about building an ultimate and then using it. Even if I don't hit anything, I get to use it, and it's cool. But okay, the cons. There's really only one bad thing about Overwatch Classic, and the rest that I have to say is going to be talking about the characters and was it a good idea to rework them? And I already mentioned it. It's control point, 2 CP. Terrible mode. It is awful. It is one of the worst modes that they have in there, and that's why it didn't make a return in Overwatch 2. They have since kind of reworked control with that one mode where you've got like 5 different control points, and then every time you cap one, it pushes it towards the enemy spawn, and you have to cap 5 of them in total to win. That's whatever. I don't have an issue with that stuff, but 2 CP is miserable because just the maps are all choke points and stuff like that, and I don't know, it's not fun. A little post-edit interjection here because I mentioned that I hate 2 CP as a game mode, and I never really fully explained why, so I'm going to do that here and add in a few more cons here. So I don't like 2 CP because 2 CP very much requires a map that has a choke point, and they did do this later on with, I think, Paris, where they had a bit more of an open map to get a little bit more movement, but classic Overwatch 2 CP, even on the Paris map, still sucks. It's not a fun game mode, and so when it comes to these classic maps, there are 3 of them, they all involve having a choke point. There's only one tank that can really dive into the enemies, and that's Winston, because D.Va is absolutely the worst character in this game. And if you want to get past a choke point, you're going to need a Reinhardt, somebody with a shield, and then you're going to need to have a Lucio absolutely boost you in there. And so what that means is you kind of are stuck with like one comp, because if we were going with the sort of traditional one hero lock that they will be implementing, you kind of need specific heroes just to get through the choke points. That's it. That's the whole thing. And so heroes like Diva absolutely suck to use. She's the worst character in the game by a country mile, but you can do some creative things in this sort of unlimited mode of 6v6. You could go 6-man Winston and dive through the entire choke, but because people die so quickly in this game, you absolutely need some sort of a shield to help you get through, and then a speed thing to boost you through, because it's crazy. And that's one of the reasons why 2CP sucks. And also, let's say you're a defender. If for whatever reason the attackers break through that first choke point, you might as well just count the first point as a loss, because the time it takes for you to walk back from spawn to the first point is usually long enough for the team to capture the first point. You might as well say that first point is a loss unless you have a Symmetra to get back there quickly, and then you have to fight for second point for 5+ minutes, and it's kind of a miserable experience all around. Okay, another con, and this is something that I didn't bring up because I'm going to go right into heroes, is that the movement and some of the mechanics just feel straight up clunky. Not to mention, you know, I'll talk about a lot of these mechanics, a lot of the heroes being just absolutely overpowered, like Cassidy being able to just right click anybody to death instantly. Same thing with Hanzo and Scatter Arrow. Outside of that, things like Roadhog being able to hook somebody, his gun, in my opinion, his gun doesn't feel like it shoots very quickly. And so when you hook somebody, there's almost like a little bit of like almost a half second or a second before you can even shoot the gun. And so the game is a lot slower in the classic Overwatch than it is in live. And I think one thing that is good about live is that you can go look at live and really appreciate how much has changed, and a lot of it for the better. And I think a lot of people kind of expected classic Overwatch to be what Overwatch was right before Overwatch 2 came out, where it was in a pretty good spot. That's not what we got, and I never expected to actually get that game. I expected day one Overwatch, which is what we got. And as somebody who was an Overwatch 1 player, coming from that, and then also coming into Overwatch 2, we're gonna go into it here now. There are so many things that I love about this Overwatch 1 Classic that I wish would merge with Overwatch 2. And I think at the end of the day, what ends up happening is that if you merge the best things of Overwatch 2 and the best things of Overwatch 1, at least what I think they are, you would end up getting Overwatch 1 right before Overwatch 2 came out. That's kind of where we're at with it. So on to the rest of it. So let's talk about reworks and were they necessary. Mercy, I think reworking her ultimate was a good idea. So the way that you used to play Mercy back in the day was that you would go in, you would get your healing, and you would get your ultimate. And one of the most mobile characters in the game was played like a rat. The whole point was to get your ultimate, hide in a corner, and then tell everybody to go fight on the point and die on the point so that you can then res everybody instantly, all 5 people back up to full health, to fighting power, and then they could fight for the point. It was awful. And in unlimited mode, you will probably see this if you play it, there will sometimes be teams where you'll get 3 people playing as Mercy, all healing everybody, healing themselves, damage boosting or whatever, and just rezzing all the time. And damage boosting, I believe, stacks. So each Mercy can damage boost the same person and it just stacks. I think it stacks. So I understand the rework for Mercy. Hanzo's Scatter Arrow absolutely needed to be changed. Why? Because when they said, oh yeah, you can just shoot the wall and bounce your arrows around corners and hit people. No, that's not how you used Hanzo's Scatter Arrow back in the day. What you did, here's what you did. You waited for somebody to show up and then you shot the ground in front of them so that when it exploded, all of the arrows would go into the person's body and then instantly kill them, and you would one-shot kill the enemy. Whether it's a tank or not, you one-tapped everybody with freaking Scatter Arrow. That's how you played Hanzo. Is it hilarious? Yes. Is it fun when it happens to you? No. It's always BS, and every single time it's BS when it happens to me. Not when I do it though. It's awesome and it's epic. So I can see why they reworked it. Roadhog is my favorite of the characters in Classic Overwatch because of the hook. Oh baby, the hook is back. So Roadhog's hook can absolutely hit people around corners. It can pull people around corners. I've hit people through the freaking payloads before. It's fantastic and it's super fun. D.Va is quite possibly the worst character in the game, hands down. Why? So she has one weapon, it's the cannons, and whenever she shoots the cannon she tiptoes, and it probably would take her 2 to 3 years to walk a mile. She's really bad. She does have her thrusters and she has her defense matrix. Whoop-de freaking do, she sucks. She is awful. Followed closely by Winston. I love Winston and I played the crap out of Winston back in the day. Winston takes a certain play style and it is something maybe I just haven't relearned it back the way it was, but he dies so fast. It just, especially with the amount of damage that's being output right now. I miss tier 3 Torb turret. I'm gonna say it. I don't think him shooting his goo everywhere is as fun as getting a turret that has rockets on it. I'm sorry, I'll say it. Turning him from a max DPS turret to an area denial sucks in my opinion. I don't think it's very fun. I love his turret. I love having passive damage shooting at people all the time, and I love freaking hitting it with a hammer. I miss tier 3 turret, bring it back please. Widow hits like a truck. Good luck moving anywhere if you're fighting against somebody who's a good Widow maker. You're dead. Doesn't matter where she hits you, you are dead. She is so powerful. And I believe I said this earlier, but I can also see why they lock the game to 1 character per team in terms of no repeating characters. You can't have 6 Roadhogs. You can have 1, but you can't have 6. I understand why they did that, but I think in many cases, it's not as fun to run around on Ilios Well with an actual comp. If you're not playing 6 Roadhogs versus 6 Roadhogs, are you even playing Overwatch? And so I think in some ways they got rid of a lot of the fun by doing that. And I understand that from a competitive mode, bring in the 1 character per team. That's completely understandable. But man, everything feels really fun right now. And yeah, I might be looking at it through rose-colored glasses. I understand that. But you know what? I'm having a good time. And I hope you guys did too. If you played it, let me know what you all think of Classic Overwatch, and let me know what your opinions are on the characters and what you would change, what you would add. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do have my next review in the works. I am about to start writing it, and it took a turn. I have to rewrite the script. Sorry, but it is what it is. It is an old game, and I promise I won't be only doing old games on this channel, but I will explain that in the review if you watch it. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys later.